If you look closely enough, even trash can be recycled into something beautiful.
How about that?
The redeemed villain. People turning to the light or somehow getting away with their actions. Personally, I believe it's the first, but I can see why some redemptions make it look like it's the second. However, in this list we were going to be talking about the first examples because, well, everyone deserves a second chance, right? And no, we're not talking like the second chance garbage from Steven Universe, but rather actually decent redemptions. What would count as a redemption? Simple. Just be a person that worked with the bad guy or is the bad guy and turn to the light by the end of the game or by the end of the series. With all that cleared up, let's get moving. At least you didn't do a gender reveal parties.
It's a giraffe!
First off the list, we have Mr. Match from the Mega Man Battle Network series, one of the many series that didn't get love from Capcom because Inafune left the company. In the first game, he was basically a jerk, one of the main bad guys and stuff. Second game, he turns neutral, then becomes your ally before backstabbing you, turns into a bad guy again. He remains a bad guy in 4 until he falls for a woman and wants to call off his terrorist plan because he doesn't want her to get caught in the crossfire. He didn't show up in 5, but showed up in 6 as someone who not only gives Lan his first merge soul, but also bails out Mega when he gets trapped. Yes, I know, it could also be the cute girl that's an alternate version of some NPC from Mega Man Legends. Hey look, I gave more attention to Legends than Capcom did in the last 5 years. But for the list, Mr. Match kinda earned his spot as a redeemed villain since while he was a complete jerk, he ended up staying on the side for good at the end, and then rescuing the dude who saves the universe later on. Oh, by the way, the area that his Navi had to go through was a water area, and you could tell this was a lot more difficult for a guy named Mr. Match. But yeah, despite changing teams more than Unlucky Man on Team Fortress 2, he still ended up with a redemption that says even villains can change. I might make someone drowsy asking this question, but can we blame Capcom for the mess that was Mighty Number 9? Since Capcom pretty much Sephiroth Mega Man. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, which is what I would consider my childhood crush of gaming. Grew up with it till after high school, and now I can't get an answer back. Ugh. But Infamous Outlaw Drowsy starts off the game very simply. Looks like a nice guy, kidnap a child, and use child for a treasure. And get caught by the heroes and puts up a fight against the newbie, insert name here, team. Pokemon gets butt kicked and gets sent to jail, and he learned not to drop the Poke shampoo, I'm sure. However, in the post-game, after getting arrested, he kinda mellowed out and was basically just wanted to be left alone on Mount Travail. And it seems that the rescue team that crossed paths with him before was going to cross paths again. Instead of him just wishing to steal stuff, now the guy just wants to be left alone. But the heroes needs his help because Azuriel got a bad case of the nightmares that a teddy bear won't fix. Drowsy plays Dream Doctor and sends the two into Azuriel's dream to cure the nightmares the best way the team knows how, beating the crap out of the monsters. Cresselia encounters the two at the end, tells the team that if they continue living, darkness will spread. However, the arrival of Drowsy saves the two, and Drowsy ends up telling the fake Cresselia to get out! Which is actually foreshadowing what you want to scream at Cresselia for being a damsel worse than Princess Peach! Oh man, that hurts. Oh no, please, I don't mind you being useless on this team. But after saving your butt from a fake Cresselia, this does deserve a mention, which, when I first seen it, it was quite shocking to me. Let's see, intentional pun or as forced as most of the plot to Innistrad after Avacyn restored. You decide. However, Pokemon seems to have a decent amount of redemptions. Wes, Drowsy, Gengar, Giovanni in the first game, until the remakes had him declare his declaration to got to world domination again, Saturn himself at the end of Platinum, Guzma, which is ironic when you consider that he is the opposite of Giovanni. But let's be here, we're here for Plasma. Okay, so let's start with a bit of backstory for Black and White 2 for all the people out there that don't own a DS. It was the first sequel to previously established games in the series, and built off a roster that was underwhelming to me at first, since I was such a fan of Johto and Sinnoh at the time, before I ended up growing to dislike Sinnoh until the Switch remakes. Okay, so let's see the profile. Obvious PETA organization that was obviously inspired by PETA's Annex, and had a pretty awesome leader within, but then Dennis shows up and steals the show. And then we got Pokemon Civil War.
When Civil War 2 starts, the Central will rise again. Rise again!
New Team Plasma decided world domination was legit, and old Team Plasma cringes at their previous actions, just like you would with your middle school memories. Come on, don't deny it, boy. 7 of the 5 sages kinda dipped out to become neutral. Then Xiaolin becomes Getsu's enforcer, and Rude has a haven for previous Team Plasma members that people look at with suspicious intent. Heck, one of them even beats the crap out of his buddy for not wishing to join the new Team Plasma, and kinda remaining old Plasma. That's dedication to your reform. Of course, also helping to stop the bad guys from turning Unova into an Iceland also adds some redemption points. I mean, personally, if they turned the entire region into snow and gave us some earlier Ice-type Pokemon, I might be tempted to go on their side, but whatever. I guess Unova isn't like a tennis court, because there ain't no love for Team Plasma now. I've updated the autopsy report. Ha ha ha, fool! I've updated the antagonist role in the second game. You foolish fool! Okay, so we're going visual novel form with the Ace Attorney series, which is a series so memorable that it practically helped inspire some machinimas back in the day.
I hate tit!
Objection! I can't defeat Tree-Man, no matter how I contradict his testimony, he just don't get
The statue of Joey the Dolphin is a gargoyle and probably saw the real killer! Oh my god, how did you even pass the fucking bar exam?
So, Miles Edgeworth, kind of a bit of a jerk in the first game, he was an immoral prosecution who was basically willing to go through any length and was even told he would fix evidence in his case. Or even tried to convict Phoenix Wright, his childhood friend, for a crime he knew he didn't commit. Such as the updated autopsy report that is infamous, that was introduced at the start to spite your defense, which contradicts the report you get not too earlier, meaning your defense kinda went out the window. Furthermore, Miles Edgeworth is willing to defend Red White when he was guilty due to inconsistencies that he shouldn't know but does know somehow. However, after getting a taste of humble pie, he manages to save the day on case 1-3 even though they most likely won, and after getting the view of what he put the defendants through against his adoptive father, who pretty much had the biggest easy money case. And yet, despite it all, he gets a chance at freedom with Phoenix Wright willing to defend him, despite everyone else seeing him as guilty, despite the case being almost unwinnable, despite the fact that Edgeworth was willing to throw Phoenix under the bus with a murder charge. Phoenix Wright still defends Edgeworth in case 1-4 and manages to get him acquitted of all charges. And after getting a chance to look at what he puts other people through, he ends up changing for the better, such as helping in 2, 3 Dual Destinies, and in his own investigations. And throughout the way, he strives to be a better prosecutor, instead of caring about getting a positive win-loss ratio. He cares about the truth. It's almost like ratios are a very bad thing to build your entire fame around. But there's no one stupid enough to do that, right? Right? Oh god, there's actually people that care more about silly ratios than truth? Why couldn't they just stick in the shadows? So, personal backstory, I might have gotten into some arguments about how I don't think Sonic Adventure 2 is the epitome of good Sonic games, and how Shadow the Hedgehog might have gotten some flack for actually doing a smart thing and using a weapon, having a similar but different playstyle to Sonic. But yeah, we're talking about Shadow. An experiment created to be Maria's best friend till the end, but she died because she was a furry. Oh well? Oh no! A furry! I am not looking forward to these comments. However, Shadow goes through the game just being a jerk and hating humanity, which after looking at Twitter for 5 minutes, or Reddit, I can understand where he comes from. Also the fact that he lost his best friend and the last words he kept hearing was to basically destroy the world. Basically, manipulating Eggman into getting the emeralds to destroy the world. However, when Amy gets a chance to talk to him, Shadow ends up getting reminded of what Maria wanted, which was to love the world, not to destroy it. Shadow panics, realizes he almost spat on his best friend's wishes, and then goes to stop the plan he helped set in motion. He then proceeds to face off against one of the hardest Sonic bosses in history, and faces off against the final hazard, and then sacrificing his life in the process. Very good redemption, and a very simple one. If we ignore every other game after Shadow the Hedgehog. Update, turns out that Shadow the Hedgehog was a decent character in Heroes and 06, but I haven't played either of them. But he was an over-the-top edgy rival 2010 onwards. Why? Because Shadow's redemption doesn't seem to stick half the time. Considering that after Sega screwed the pooch with Shadow's characterization in future games, which, ironically, wasn't the over-the-top edgelord game since that still had him as a decent character.
I'm no longer satisfied simply taking vengeance on that lackwit Eggman. I want revenge on this whole pathetic universe.
But after that, he was known as the jerkish rival in future installments. The only thing they could have done to make him more of a jerk was to make him French. In Shadow the Hedgehog's own game, he could continue his path of redemption and ends up telling his father to effectively get bent. But in other non-evil paths, he can spare Eggman, or look at himself with horror and call himself a creation gone wrong.
I've caused so much destruction. I should never have been created.
Whoa, what's that?
At the end of the day, even in his story, Shadow isn't a monster. Oh, what's this Pokemon clone? You dare bring this garbage on your channel? Why, yes I do. Monster Hunter Stories, just another game where you control monsters that the Pokemon fanbase rages over because Pokemon should be the only RPG that allows you to tame stuff. As a Pokemon fan myself, I'm enjoying riding these dragons of destruction. Okay, backstory. Okay, this is a kiddie-like game. Should be fun. Let's see. Cheerful child, lost his whole family in an accident, wants complete power. What? Wait, what?
Whoa, this could get dangerous. Here's hoping.
Okay, so that lovable, friendly rival you got that loves monsters? Yeah, kind of a jerk. When he loses his family and wants to go, find a solution. No monsters. Humans only. Oh, and don't think that power of friendship crap is gonna change him. He absolutely sees Wrathy as nothing more than a tool and wants to put your Ratha put down due to exhibiting signs of the Black Blight, which is understandable when you consider the Black Blight helped get Cheval's family killed. But still, Ratha's like your dog in this game, come on. However, his hatred towards monsters, including his own, ends up biting him hard, considering that Wrathy basically starts rebelling because of the abuse she gets from Cheval. which makes the rematch in the Pondry Caves an uphill battle, where she refuses to listen to him. And Rathy has every reason to abandon him at this point. But even after getting abandoned by Cheval, even after the abuse she suffered because of him, she still was loyal enough to rescue him when he needed rescuing from Versa Pietri, when his own darkness ends up causing Versa to get corrupted. This is Gardevoir levels of loyalty. Soon after that, he regrets everything and chooses to change his ways, which we see in the second game, where not only does he still have Rathy as a partner, but he even is like a mentor to your character and is willing to talk about his past, so you don't go down such a route of vengeance like he did. Guy ended up changing for the better, and is even willing to use his past villainy as a guiding tool for the hero of the second game. Once a man whose very soul was filled with darkness, but the caliber of their character edged him away from darkness at the very end. Okay, Soul Calibur. Don't know jack about nearly every single relationship in the series, and considering it might be more complicated than about, I don't know, Kingdom Hearts maybe. Maybe not. Here are some of the things I do know about it before I had to research this. Obvious fan service that wasn't in the original, Link was in the second game, there was a spinny spear guy that everyone likes, the red commie girl from the fourth game is adorable, they have guest artist appearances, oh and Darth and Yoda were in the fourth game as well, and two powerful blades counteract each other. So, I had to research a bit more about Siegfried, and if I mess up things, please do the honorable thing, and research into Rhythm Thief and butcher its plot. I know it would be heartbreaking for me to have other people research more about Rhythm Thief, but I must do the honorable thing. So to start things off, quick warning, I'm just gonna say this all in one take, and if y'all can just like roast me, go ahead, because I might mess up things. Okay. Leader of a bandit who accidentally kills his own father, went crazy and thought someone else killed his father to the point where he sought out the Soul Edge in order to get vengeance on the man who killed his father. Goes through a crazy hunt for Soul Edge where he ends up killing everyone he suspected of having it, such as Sir Stefan. Comes across it, besides the dead pirate Cervantes. Soul Edge promised to resurrect Siegfried's power in exchange for souls, and he turns into Nightmare. Getting a few followers in Soul Calibur, ends up facing against the original owner of Soul Calibur. Evil sword weakened, Siegfried regained humanity somewhat, but learned that it was he himself who killed his own father, refused to see his mother till he was fully redeemed, and was haunted by the corpses of victims he murdered. Darkness followed him, forced him to pick up the armor a second time, and he becomes Nightmare again. Near the end of his quest, Raphael faced against him and lost, but before Nightmare got a chance to kill Raphael, Siegfried fought to gain control of his mind and fought with Nightmare, giving Raphael a chance to strike Soul Edge and escape. The third game ends up taking the Holy Sword Calibur and trying to stop Edge by shoving it into its core. Both swords ended up low on power. Siegfried vows to seal away Soul Edge for all eternity for his sins, and fought against Nightmare because Zazamel just decided to revive him so he can kill himself because he was immortal. However, by the fifth game, he ultimately destroyed Soul Edge, went home, enjoyed a brief period of peace, realized his work wasn't over, got back up, and going through the sword's minions and was getting help from his old buddies. Schwarzwind, his original group of bandits that he helped reform. And would you believe me if I said this was only from one timeline? So why isn't he the number one redemption? Simple. Every other redemption takes place over fewer games in comparison to 5. Now, I apologize if I did a dishonor to the Soul series, but at least I'm not making any down jokes. Admit it, you thought that was a good pun too. So doubt. Not many people who are assassins get a redemption arc and turn out to be a hero in their own right. So, how does Dishonored start? Simple. Corvo gets back to Dunwall. Corvo reunites with Emily and his bae. Corvo defends Emily and Bay, and Corvo's Bay gets assassinated by Dowd, with Emily getting kidnapped. Corvo gets blamed for everything because he's a guy and put on death row. However, Dowd's story is only seen in the DLC, where he admits that something broke inside of him when he stabs the Empress. Soon after, during his introduction, he ends up passing Emily to the Pendleton twins, and ended up racked with guilt over killing someone actually decent, given a name from the outsider, Delilah, with the outsider telling Dowd that it's going to be important later. Then Dowd decides to investigate the name for himself, which ends up leading him to actions where he ends up facing the overseers who invade his hideout. Then his own apprentice Billy, who took his guilt as weakness and tried to kill him. Surprisingly, I've seen bigger moments where women backstab their friends, but whatever. Now I know Dowd could technically kill Billy in-game, but canon events was that Billy was spared after she tried to kill Dowd. Then Dowd ends up facing against the Brigmore Witches and Delilah, who plan to take over Emily's body and hijack it. And Dowd really shouldn't have any reason to go after them, since it was implied the witches would have left him alone entirely. But Dowd storms the hideout, saves Emily from getting her body stolen, and stops Delilah till the events of Dishonored 2. And even when Corvo won his duel against Dowd, Dowd admits that he knows he's dead and only asks for his life to be spared, which Corvo ends up doing. What makes this an important redemption is the context, and you know, context is the most important part. In a world where most people are kind of jerks, most people pretty much want you dead and all that, he realizes he messed up big with the assassination of Jessamine and the kidnapping of Emily, regrets the societal collapse because of his actions, and accepts what happens as his fault. And yet, despite that, before Corvo's confrontation with him, Dowd still ends up putting his life on the line from witches, because he wanted to save that one girl he kidnapped earlier, and before he leaves the city, Dowd leaves his sword at Jessamine's grave. It's a bit tacky to give a woman the same gift twice, but eh. But the fact that he admits guilt over an action starts to take a path away from doing those actions, saving someone he had no reason to save, and accepting whatever punishment from Corvo, who either did fate worse than death to people if he didn't kill them, says something about how effective his turn from villainy was. But seeing his quest, it's a bit inspiring, to be honest. Remember the rules at the beginning where I specifically said you either had to be the villain or be working for the villain? Yeah, this is an important part of why I made that rule. Hendrik basically was the dragon to King Villain King Carnelian, who ordered, based on the Darkspawn interpretation of the destiny of the Luminary, to destroy the Luminary that was destined to save the world, because when he was brought into the world, he brought the worst to come. Hendrik and Jasper basically go through hell and back to hunt down the Luminary, which includes burning down Cobblestone, though Hendrik got the villagers spared. Then he is seen trying to recapture the Luminary, and Eric after they broke out of prison. Jasper going all out at Gondola, Hendrik catching up to the Luminary at the ruins of Dundrasil, where he even attacks Jade for siding with the Darkspawn. Only after encountering him at Sniffelheim and getting basically bailed out by the Luminary does he ease up a bit, though it might also help with the fact that Jasper freed Crystalinda and she accidentally spilled the beans that he didn't. Hendrik goes off to encounter Jasper, and when the party goes to the World Tree, Jasper hits everyone with that new Dark Hack Spot.
Lol, get good, get Dark Hack Spot. Go to darkhackspot.org for TF2 hacks.
Hey man, can someone kick Jasper for hacking, please? Hendrik brought admin Carnelian along with him to reveal Jasper's betrayal to the world and to the kingdom. Turns out that King Carnelian was possessed by Mordigan all along. Mordigan steals the Luminary's powers, takes the Sword of Light, makes it dark, destroys the world when he messed up Yggdrasil. After that, Hendrik gets immediately to work, building a bastion for people to live, helping save people and creating a town. When compared to most other towns during the time it got messed up, seems pretty decent. And he's been doing this for months, while the Luminary was in a coma. Luminary wakes up, King Carnelian ends up being the authority and the leader of the town that's still alive, and asks Luminary to help Hendrik on the front lines from invaders who wish to destroy the town. Hendrik and Luminary both end up going to the ruins of Heliodor, where they fight off against the first of the Spectral Sentinels, Tyriant, and after the battle, Hendrik asks for forgiveness from the Luminary, and even pledges to be the Luminary's protector, and becomes the second in command to the Luminary afterwards.
Incredible! Issue 1 of the Ogler's Digest. And in mint condition.
Indeed. It seems our friend here made his peace with the world before departing. This, at least, is some small solace.
What makes his redemption so effective is that he's got the colors of the Dark Knight, and he admits his mistakes, while still being a hero of his own right, and along the way, clearly not enjoying facing with the Luminary, but the key point was the swallowing of pride and fighting against the true enemy of Heliodor and the world, that you wouldn't expect such an obvious number 2 to the obvious bad guy to join your party as a savior of the town and your number 2. You can either run from your mistakes like a coward, or try to fix yourself and do the right thing, even if people will hate you. But if you want a good example of a knight that shines like a fiery emblem of Heliodor, you got one right here. So, question. When your bad guy's the villain, how do you go about a redemption arc? Well, you look through the previous 9 entries and you kind of take inspiration from a story like that. But here we have an actual villain that turns into a hero. From Fire Emblem, no less. And here they are. The only redemption arc in Fire Emblem that I can say is perfect. And that is Adolf. Oh, I'm sorry. Edelgard's still a bad hero, and her defenders are a bunch of horny teens. But seriously, it's King Dimitri. Okay, backstory and spoilers for Three Houses. Before the events of the game, Dimitri ends up going on a trip with his dad and a few others, and his dad and a few others got killed so some woman could see her daughter again. Cool motive, still murder. Trauma ends up hitting Dimitri hard. Dimitri tries to hold on to sanity, but that sanity breaks down the second that an innocent village gets destroyed for experiments. And then the betrayal of Edelgard, because she wanted to use the corpses of Rhea's persecuted siblings, mind you, as crafting materials for some sick new blades. And Edelgard, who took the identity of the Flame Emperor, who he thinks was a key member in the tragedy of Duskur that scarred him.
You know what they say? A little childhood trauma builds character.
Oh, by the way, this was after Flame was kidnapped and drained of her blood from the collab between Edelgard and those who slither in the dark. Then, on the Azure Moon path, where Edelgard has him framed, slated for execution, which potentially got Dedue killed off, forced into exile, and the only experiences left is either killing for survival or fleeing for his life, during a 5-year war that Edelgard started because she felt entitled to Dimitri and Claude's land because it was once a part of her empire. And her defenders will justify it, along with her being allied with the obviously evil guys. So after pretty much losing everything and everyone, he ends up reuniting with the Azure Moon gang. He still is crazy and actually will not be involved in any of the supports until a certain point. Him basically being a cruel monster, willing to do whatever it takes for revenge, with Randolph being mercy killed by Byleth. Throw in him basically forcing his group to go after Edelgard instead of retaking his lands, when Cornelia is throwing it into a dictatorship, and makes Dimitri a cruel man who is pushing his friends to death. However, after seeing a small child try to kill him for his murder of her brother earlier in the story, and having one of his father's friends defend and save him from the punishment he should have faced, Dimitri gets a wake-up call, so to speak. And actually reaches out for Byleth's hand and starts to change for the better. Heck, the man changes so much that he even gives Edelgard 2 chances at redemption. First, by parlaying to stop the war before the final assault, and second, to reach out his hand to her after she was defeated, only to get an attempt at his life from her. Dimitri's redemption just works the best because even at his lowest, he still became beloved by the people he rescued. He still had people wishing for him to return good. He still tries to give his mortal enemy 2 chances at redemption, meaning he isn't a hypocrite about redemption. Dimitri will remain the best redemption for me, and Edelgard is the worst lord in the series. And no amount of 1 million words in a fanfiction or 100 pages of defenses of her will change that.